Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Shiva Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Shiva Prabhupada, Jaya Doya Nitai, Vijay Gauranga, Jaya Vijay Gauranga, Doya Nitai, Jaya Vijay Gauranga, Jaya Doya Nitai, Jaya Vijay Gauranga, Jaya Doya Nitai, Jaya Radha Shyama Sundara, Radha Shyama Sundar Shri Radhe, Jaya Radha Shyama Sundara, Radha Shyama Sundar Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva Shiva Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva Shiva Gurudeva, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Gaur Premanande, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, His Divine Grace of Harshan and Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, His Kalan Yatra Ki Jai, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhagavatam class today, and we're reading from
Transcendental Diary by Harishavi Prabhu. Continue in Srimad. Accompanied by Bhagavati-ji, Prabhupada stopped briefly at the entrance and quickly surveyed the interior before stepping in. It's a tiny place, about 8 feet wide, 14 feet long, tapering to a point, and 6.5 feet high. He was in good humor and smiled with satisfaction as he stepped inside. I've never been in my kitchen before. It's very nice. Relaxed and unhurried, he looked around the benches, at the burners and the pots and pans, and then unexpectedly dipped into a small bucket of vegetables scraps next to where Shruti Rupa was sitting with a knife, fishing out a large cauliflower core just denuded of its flores. He asked her, "Why are you throwing this?" She flushed and embraced silence. Prabhupada shook his head slightly but didn't say anything more. His inquiry was enough to tell them not to waste anything. Dear Prabhupada.
So today continue reading 5th canto, chapter 10, entitled The Discussion Between Jada Bharata and Maharaj Rahugana. Text number 6, right? Sanskrit translation prepared by His Divine Grace Abhashan Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Presha Bhadrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishriki Sarva Shastra Biti Pyusa Sarva Vedeka Tatpala Sarva Vedantaratnagya Sarva Bhuvekandrik Padam. Sanskrit, I don't know the meter, just read like that. Ahokastam Brata Vyaktam Uru Parishramto Dirkham Adhavan Eka Eva Uhivansu Chiram Nati Jihva Nati Pivana Samhana Nango Jarasa Kupadruto Bhavan Sakhena Evaparaiti Sankatinaiti Bahu Vipralantopi Avidyaya Rachita Dravya Guna Karma Syasva Charama Kalevare Vastuni Samstana Visheshe Ham Amiti Anandhyaropita Mithya Pratayayo Brahmabhutas Tushnin Subikam Purvavat Uvaha. Does anyone like to read something? You like?
Oh, difficult.
Too much. Okay, let us go for translation. Prabhupada. King Rahugana told Jada Bharata, "How troublesome this is, my dear brother. You certainly appear very fatigued because you have carried this palanquin along without assistance for a long time and for a long distance. Besides that, due to your old age, you have become greatly troubled. My dear friend, I see that you are not very firm, not very strong and stout. Are not your fellow carriers cooperating with you?" Prepared by Srila Prabhupada. In this way, the king criticized Jada Bharata with sarcastic words, yet despite being criticized in this way, Jada Bharata had no bodily conception of the situation. He knew that he was not the body, for he had attained his spiritual identity. He was neither fat, lean, nor thin, nor had he anything to do with the lamp of matter, a combination of the 5 gross and 3 subtle elements. He had nothing to do with the material body and its 2 hands and legs. In other words, he had completely realized his spiritual identity, Aham Brahmasmi. He was therefore unaffected by this sarcastic criticism from the king. Without saying anything, he continued carrying the palanquin as before. Jadavarada was completely liberated. He did not even care when the dacoits attempted to kill his body. He knew that he certainly was not the body. Even if the body were killed, he would not have cared, for he was thoroughly convinced of the proposition found in Bhagavad Gita 2.20, Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. He knew that he could not be killed even if his body were killed. Although he did not protest, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his agent could not tolerate the injustice of the dacoits. Therefore he was saved by the mercy of Krishna, and the dacoits were killed. In this case, while carrying the palanquin, he also knew that he was not the body. This body was very strong and stout in sound condition and quite competent to carry the palanquin. Due to his being freed from the body conception, the sarcastic words of the king did not at all affect him. The body is created according to one's karma, and material nature supplies ingredients for the development of a certain type of body. The soul the body covers is different from the bodily construction. Therefore, anything favorable or mischievous done to the body doesn't affect the spirit soul. The Vedic injunction is asangahya ayam purusha. The spirit soul is always unaffected by material arrangements. Om Gyanati Mirandasya Gina Gina Chalakaya Chakshurmritam Mina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manam Bhishtaram Stapitamina Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadam Mahyam Dadati Svapanantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagnat Punatkhamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijanam Sahidam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagnam Lalitam Shri Vishakam Vidamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubheva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Pada Krishna Prishta Budle Shrimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshe Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Yantak Pravishtam Vachimam Prasuptam Sanjivayanti Kila Shakti Dharan Svadhamna Anyam Shahastam Charanam Sharanam Samani Pranam Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tupyam Durgam Patim Dasya Skalapadar Mater Guru Shri Pesana Santa Santa Lambadam Gurave Guru Chandra Shri Gaitale Shri Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namaha Yasya Prasadam Yajna Pisa Rasanyagana Vadvita Chitanya Deva May Bhagavan Samprasidata Tusham Sadadam Yuktanam Bhajata Priti Purvakam Danam Bhuti Yogam Tamanam Pandite Krishna Shakti Danahita Pravatana Kala Kala Radama Krishna Nama Sankirtana Adantas Trinanda Tayra Danyashi Punatma Shrimani Rupat Padam Bhujan Yurisyam Janma Janmani Hare Krishna. So, history of Jada Bharata is a pretty fascinating story with many wonderful philosophical points and instructive lessons here. And King Rahugana, he told Jada Bharata, "Oh brother, you're probably tired, you are not so strong, you're old age person, your limbs are weak." You know, he just started to kind of ridicule him. And with sarcastic words, he tried to criticize him in a subtle way. Wanted to put him down. And Jada Bharata, he kind of took an opposite meaning of the words. Although Jada Bharata, he was in opposite way. He was young, he was strong, he was stout. His body was big and strong. And how is it affected Jada Bharata here? So he was not disturbed by any words of the king. So he was completely peaceful and satisfied. Why? So normally when we in mundane relationships, we kind of dealing with different personalities, and sometimes we've been offended by somebody or criticized by somebody or just ridiculed and let us down, somebody let us down. So we feeling frustrated maybe yeah, we want to fight back. Yeah, that's normal situation in material world. But Jada Bharata, he was completely self-controlled. Why? Because he was not on the bodily platform of life. So he been free from bodily designations. I'm not this body, this is first lesson of spiritual life. So he's fully realized it, not like theoretically like we are, but he was fully out of all this kind of ideas about oneself. Like it's called abhiman, when we think about ourselves, like we're this and that. I'm learned person. I'm clever. I'm strong. I'm young. I'm this. I'm man. I'm woman. Brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and so on and so forth. So all these are false. Yeah? And first lesson of spiritual life is, first effect of chanting is we're free from bodily designation of life. Sarva upadiviniru muktam tat paratvena nirmalam. So our senses are purified and also we become free from the bodily designations. We don't feel that we are bodies, yeah? We are gross material bodies. And Srila Madhvacharya, he explains in his writings that he given different identifications and explain how the person feels himself or what kind of experience or suffering he getting from different levels of identifications with the subtle or gross body. So he writes that when one identifying himself with the gross material body, he suffers from drowsiness and sexual desire. So whenever we feel drowsiness, like for example on a class of Bhagavatam, people falling asleep. So that's identification with the gross body. But although Bhagavatam is different, to sleep on the Bhagavatam is authorized because some sage he gave a curse or blessing. I don't know whether it's curse or blessing, but sleep on the Bhagavatam is okay because Nidra Devi is always present here. So when we identify ourselves with gross body, we suffer out of drowsiness or sexual desire. So that's gross identification. When we identify ourselves with a subtle body, with a pranic, like energetic body, like prana, life, air, subtle body, so then we suffer from hunger and thirst. Is anybody hungry? Not yet. And he said that if one identifying himself with mind, he suffers from fear. Is anybody sometimes become fearful? Yeah? That's a mind. That's a platform of mind. So normally when we on a platform of mind, we fearful or we inattentive in our chanting. Inattentiveness, this is kind of caused by mental platform. Then one identifying himself with intelligence. So he kind of suffers from the sense of uselessness of material existence, or frustration of life, or hopelessness, like that. So he doesn't feel any hope for the future. Life, material life is like, it's like dead end, nothing there. So does anybody feel like that sometimes? That's identification with the buddhi. It's quite high. And then if somebody identifies with the false ego, he feels himself small, insignificant, desperate, hopeless, like that, very insignificant, oppressed by material energy. And when we compare ourselves with other people, those who are great and powerful, famous and wealthy, so we become like miserable, out of this feeling. That's false ego. Does anybody feel like that sometimes? Only me.
All the time.
That's false ego, you see. That's how it works. So it makes us miserable. And then if person identifying himself with Mahat, it's called Mahat Tattva, or contaminated consciousness, even more subtle than Ahankara. He feels himself, he's suffering from a remembrance of past lives. Of course, it's maybe high. And another one, last one is it when person identifying himself with a soul, and he think I'm soul, I'm Aham Brahmasmi, I'm spirit, I'm eternal. Still he suffers from unfulfillment, from not fully developed, because of absence of positive activity in Brahman. He feels himself not fully realized, and still he suffers. Can you imagine? Even on a spiritual platform, we can experience unfulfillment, incompleteness, And only when person identifies himself with the Krishna Das, I am a servant of Krishna, Das was me. So then he completely happy, no problem, no any suffering. So that's a formula for you of happiness. Whenever you feel yourself miserable or upset or frustrated, so you just remember, I am Krishna Das, I am eternal servant of Krishna. That is a formula, Das was me, 3 words, Das was me, I am Das. So immediately you become happy, because there is no any negativity or any sense of unhappiness connected to that kind of identification. So you become free from distress. That's a formula. That's nice to know. And Jadabharata, he was on a platform of Brahma Bhuta. He was completely free from bodily designations of all this kind of different identification. He was like self-realized person. He was feel himself like I am an eternal servant of Krishna. So there is no problem for him. So He was out of this body. You know, like Jesus said, to be in this world but being out of this world. Yeah? To live in this world but be out of this world. And yeah, he was self-realized, Brahma Bhuta platform, spiritual platform, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatmana Shuchichina Kankshati Samak Sarveshu Bhutushu Mad Bhakti Mlapate Param. Person who is self-realized, he is never lamenting, never hankering for anything, he always joyful, he always free from bodily designation, and he can start Param Bhakti. Mad Bhakti Mlapate Param. Param means supreme Bhakti. You can practice a pure devotional service. So you can practice devotional service in any situation of life. Even animals sometimes can practice, can do devotional service. But it's in the modes of nature. So pure bhakti can be performed only on a liberated platform, Brahma Buddha platform. So he was fully realized, completely free from bodily designation, from sense of I am and mine, aham, mameti, ahankara, abhiman, all these kind of ideas about ourselves. All of us, we are affected by all those ideas because we products of Kali Yuga, we're watching TV and all this kind of stuff on the internet. So all these kind of ideas bombarding us every day. So we are afflicted by that. We accumulated all of these things and we think about oneself. I am this, I am that, I am man, woman, American or Indian, I am Ukrainian or Russian, I am clever, I am intelligent, I am miserable, I am suffering, I am powerful. You know, like formula in material world, formula of happiness in material world. To be rich plus famous equal happiness. But doesn't work for the soul. So soul only be happy if we realize this formula of das osmi. That is the perfect formula of happiness. So Bharat Maharaj, he was like that. He was free from bodily designation and he was not being affected by any words connected to body. Why he should affected by those different abusements of offenses which are connected to body, so he's not to body. And why we are affected by those things? Because we think, because we got self-opinion, we got certain self-opinion about ourselves. We kind of developed in due course of life, we developed certain opinion about ourselves. We think about ourselves. I am this and that, I got some certain type of personality. If somebody addressed me in different way, so I become offended, I become upset because of it. And I divide people on friends and enemies. Oh, this is my enemy because he judged me in different way. So he said something wrong about me. You see, that's our kind of observation about the world. And somebody became my friend because he's saying something right and pleasing to my senses. So I become happy. Oh, nice, that's my friend. So I judge people like that in this context. But if you're free from bodily designation, it doesn't matter because all those things, all those designations belongs to the body, not for me. I am not this body. So Bharata Maharaj and our acharyas explained that actually he was not. He was not in the material body. He actually fully developed his spiritual body at that point of life. He developed his eternal spiritual body, which belongs to Vaikuntha, Satchitananda form. So he'd been on a liberated platform and he developed spiritual body. He was in spiritual body actually at that point, like Shukadeva Goswami. He was in spiritual body as well. Satchitananda Vigraha. which is consists of Shuddha Sattva. Shuddha Sattva has three components: Sandhini, Samvit, and Hladini Shakti. Yeah? Three energies: eternity, knowledge, and full bliss. So that's components of that body. So like our material bodies are made of Bhumira, Ponalova, Yuh, Kamana, Buddhi, Revacha, Hankara. Yeah? 5 gross, 3 subtle elements. And that's our kind of bricks of this body, which is built from. But spiritual body built from spiritual components of bricks, spiritual bricks, Sat Chit Ananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. So he was in that body, and he was fully aware about his spiritual identity. Like, I'm Krishna Das, so I'm in certain relationship with the Supreme Lord. And Sanatana Goswami in his Brihad Bhagavatam, they explain the 5 levels of perfect devotees, those who possess prema. There's some hierarchy among the advanced devotees. There's some hierarchy because perfection, there are levels of perfection as well, different levels. Although all those they're perfect, but still there's some hierarchy. And he explained that there are 5 levels. First one is Dhruva Maharaj. He was a Karma Mishra Bhakta. Karma Mishra Bhakta means his prema was with a mixture of karma, because he wanted to become like great and even greater than his grandfather Brahma. That's why he got some tinge of karma desire. Although he was a perfect, he got a prema, he received darshan of Lord Vishnu. Anyways, and second level, they're called Jnana Bhaktas. Jnana Bhaktas, those who possessed Aishwarya Prema. They got prema, but this prema in reverential mood. They are aware about greatness of the Lord. So Lord is great, he got all this kind of opulences, vibhuti. Aishwarya says Samagrasya, Viryasya Shasyashya, Gyana, Vairagasya Shava, Shana Bhagayati Gana. 6 opulences, yeah? He is the most grateful, knowledgeable, beautiful, powerful, renowned, and so on and so forth. So, and this prema, when person fully aware, so God is everything, God is great, God all these wealths and energies, He's the source of everything. I worship Him, but on a distance, because I'm afraid a little bit, because He's too powerful, and as well, what is the sense of service? Why does He need my service or not? Because He is self-satisfied. He got everything. Why He need my service? And that's why probably such bhaktas, they never render service directly towards Supreme Lord. They just admire Lord and they just glorify Him, but never render direct service. Because they got such a prema which doesn't allow them to serve. You see, Aishwarya prema. And then different devotees give an example of Prahlad Maharaj, Bhishma, 4 Kumaras, and Bharata Maharaj. Bharata Maharaj was on that level. He got Jnana Prema, Aishwarya Jnana Prema. So he was Jnana Bhakta with the tinge of this Aishwarya Prema. And then more higher level is called Shuddha Bhakta. Shuddha Bhakta was Ambarishi Maharaj, which story given in 9th canto. He was serving to the Lord with all his senses, all his capacity, abilities. Savaimana Krishna Padaravindayo, Vashamsi, Vaikunthe Gunanu Varnane. He was doing all this kind of services, and but still he did not got a sense of possessiveness towards the Lord. And then next level is Hanuman. Hanuman was on a level of Premi Bhakta. Premi Bhakta is those who got pure prema and they completely developed Dasya Bhava. So Dasya relationships. And Hanuman is the best devotee on that level, he got this prema and sense of possessiveness. Possessiveness means Lord is mine, I am his servant. He's completely mine. Mamata, it's called mamata, possessiveness. And then more higher, next level is called Parama Premi Bhaktas. And Parama Premi Bhaktas, the Pandavas in Dvaraka. Pandavas. No sound there. Hare Krishna. Pandavas, they got a friendship. Yeah? They got loving friendship towards Lord, but their friendship being a little bit with a tinge of reverence, reverential friendship. That's called Gaurava Sakya Rasa with Krishna. And more higher is Uddhava. Uddhava on the level of prematura bhakta. He's a prematura bhakta, those who got intimate friendship with Krishna, sense of intimacy. He's very close to Krishna. And Krishna said in the 11th canto, he said, Yadhame priyatama yatmaya nirna sankaraya na sankarshaya na shrir yayadhame naivedyame yadha bhavan. Yeah. So he said, Uddhava, you very dear to me. You even dear to me than more dear than Lakshmi, than Shankara, even than Sankarsana, and even myself. You so much. You too dear to me. So Uddhava is topmost devotee in Dvaraka. And then Uddhava, Krishna sent him to Vraj. He came to Vrindavan. He met gopis, and he realized, wow. So gopis are on a completely essential new kind of level of prema. They're too high, so the gopis are completely surrendered to Krishna. They're completely mad out of love, divine madness. Yeah? It's called Divya Mada. They're completely mad out of love, and they're topmost devotees. They surrender everything. They give up everything. So they become fully surrendered. Asama hocharanarena chusamaham shyam vrindaranyam kim gumalatam ushadhinam idustijam svaryahatnyam chahitmam minjur mukundam padavim shutibhim vimrigyam. He said, I want to be just the blade of grass. I want to be dust in Vrindavan, so the gopis step on me, trample upon me, and I got a little dust, and I would have made my progress, spiritual progress. So he was completely amazed and completely surprised by their prema. Their prema is so powerful, so strong. Even Krishna could not resist their prema. He gave up 2 additional hands when he took a form of Narayana, and he presented himself like a Narayana. But Gopi's love was so powerful that Krishna could not resist. He just gave up. He became like Krishna, cowherd boy. So they overpowered Krishna by their love. Even Krishna, who is the most powerful person, so nobody can defeat him, but Gopis defeated him by their prema. Krishna became defeated completely. They overpowered him. He became like a puppet in the hands of his beloved devotees. And Bharata Maharaj, he was a level of Jnana Bhakta. He did not develop yet direct service to Krishna. But although he was in spiritual body, fully developed spiritual body, but he did not get this sense of possessiveness. He could not render direct service to Krishna. And he was very humble. Whenever king criticized him in sarcastic words, he was not response. He was very humble because this humility caused by prema. He got a prema, jnana prema, and this humility caused by prema. And it is seen by, I think, Vrindavan Das Thakur in Chaitanya Bhagavatam. He said, prema trishna dainya mata. He said, thirst for prema is a mother of humility. So humility is equivalent to prema. to that, how much we have humility, to that much we have prema. So you can estimate, you can analyze yourself how much you have humility. To that much you have a prema. That's equivalent, they're synonymous. Humility and prema. So he was very humble and he never responded, he just been, like, great devotees are always like that in any circumstances of life. Because they got prema, and prema causes them experience this kind of very high level of humility. Like Prahlad Maharaj being tortured by his father, but he was humble. He never minded, it's okay. He was just completely humble. So this Jat Bharata, he was self-realized person and he was free from all designations. He'd been in a spiritual body, fully developed, and he just experienced bliss, eternal bliss. That was his mood and situation. And yeah, that's what Lord Chaitanya said to us. He said, we have to give up everything. Нахам випраначана рапатирна пивайшина шудру, нахам варни нача греха патирна ванаствуетерва. Кинту прадяни хила прамананда пунавитат хилгопи бардух падакам лев дасу, 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 dasu. So, as much as you humble, to that much you das. So you can add one more das. You become more humble, you become dasu, dasu. You add one more das, title das, 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 while you become just last at all this queue which is going to Krishna, to the spiritual world. So we know the Brahmanas or Kshatriyas or Brahmacharis, Grihastas were eternal servants of Krishna. And even we don't know our spiritual identity, maybe in our level, so we not realize it. We just theoretically understand that we are not these bodies. We not realize it. But still, Lord Chaitanya already gave to us our identification, our spiritual identification. So he said, Jivera Krishnera Svarupahaya, Jivera Svarupahaya Krishnera Nityada. So we are eternal servants of Krishna. This is our eternal spiritual identity, Svarupa of the Jiva, Jivera Svarupahaya. So we've got our spiritual identity, not this material, but spiritual. Therefore, it is very exalted kind of consciousness when we realized our eternal spiritual identity. Even we don't know still yet our relationship with Krishna, then anyway we know that we are Krishna dasas and we can be free from all anxieties, from all frustrations and hankering by remembering that we are Krishna dasas. And if we are Krishna dasas, then Krishna in charge and he controls our life. He's supervising us at any moment of life. And whatever happening with us, that's Krishna's plan, that's Krishna's desire, that's his sweet will. And if we're suffering, that means that Krishna wants us to suffer just to make our progress towards prema. That's his plan about us, so we have to accept it. Because Krishna in charge for our life. So Lord Chaitanya is supervising us in this moment. Exactly. So that's why we can be free from all anxieties, just understanding this point. I just came to my mind one story. I was before Kartik, this Kartik months, so we're normally given different vows and taking up vratas, like changing more and just reading more and give up eating, sleeping and so on and so forth. So I was thinking, let me try, do not criticize anyone, because criticism is coming from false ego when we identify ourselves with bodies And then whoever tell me something wrong, so I become frustrated, I'm criticized. Like this King Rahugana, he was fully on a bodily conception of life. He was thinking, I'm a king, I'm great. So this guy, he is my carrier, he has to carry me. What's going on? What's wrong with him? So he got angry, you know, like it's like very gross identification. And I was thinking, so let me take up this vow. Do not criticize anyone during 1 month. And I was staying, it was Mayapur, I was staying at the front of Radha Madhava deities, Ashtasaki. I was praying, oh Krishna, I want to take this vrata, do not criticize anyone. And at this point, when I was pronouncing this vrata in my mind, some Indian couple came, you know, across with me and just bumping me. And just some Indian, you know, the Indians are always just stepping on a trample on your feet or just pushing you with elbows. So, and he just, you know, like step on my foot. And I immediately, I was thinking, are you a rascal? And I was thinking, oh, I just given my, try to take up vrata, do not criticize anyone. And immediately I broke my vrata. I was thinking, oh, maybe it's too high. Maybe no, I'm not going for this. Maybe it's too high for me. I immediately broke it. I immediately transgressed my vrata. So that's a false ego, you see. All this criticism caused by a false ego. So I failed. Anyway, so this is a good story, full of different lessons and instructive points we can find in the story of Jana Bharata. So he was completely self-realized and highest caliber of on the platform of pure devotional service. Hare Krishna. I'm stop here. Maybe any comments, but we wanted to ask us.
Yeah, it was during your talk because I didn't know this one word which you used in the time. It was like you described it like sleeping something. Afterwards, you
drowsiness.
Drowsiness.
Drowsiness means sleeping.
Sleeping.
Yeah.
And what kind of benediction is that to sleep during Bhagavatam? I didn't get this.
That story from Puranas, I don't remember which says sage. It's like was sage or rishi. He was he cursed somebody. Oh, he said that I don't remember the story exactly, but he gave a curse of blessing. So on wherever there is a Bhagavatam going to be discussed, there is Nidra Devi will be present. Nidra Devi is Yoga Maya, or it's Devi which in charge for the sleeping, you know, goddess of sleeping. She's gonna be present on that discussion at any places whenever there is a Bhagavatam discussion. So there will be Nidra Devi. So that's why the devotees are sleeping in class Bhagavatam. That's authorized. No problem. That's not bodily conception of life. It's just, you know, it's a higher arrangement.
I have one more question. I would like to maybe you talked about this false designation to feel like I'm brahmachari, I'm sannyasi,
Yeah.
this and that. My question is like, is it if we have like the same in devotion terms, I'm a Sankirtan distributor, I'm a good pujari, and so I'm a wonderful cook. Why is this also false ego? Where we can say something to this, or is it false ego?
Yeah, it's also false ego because we think I am good pujari, I am best kirtani, I am perfect manager, I am this and that. So because I'm trying to enjoy by this. I'm trying to enjoy, and this is connected to my body. It's not connected to my real identity. Although it is nice designation because it's not sinful. It's connected to Krishna culture, you know, to Hare Krishna, to Krishna consciousness. It helps me to grow in spiritual life, but still it's false designation. Am I pujari or am I manager eternally? Of course not. So I have to find out who am I actually in my internal position on the level of Brahma Buddha, who am I? So all these kind of things which are good, they're not like people identify themselves with, I don't know, Russian, Ukrainian businessman or politician or musician. That's completely like materialistic, but it's more spiritual, but still it's false. It's connected to the spiritual culture. It's nice at the beginning, but then I have to give it up. Because Krishna wants me to be just servant, just das with me. That's my formula of success. Not pujari, because pure devotee can perform any type of service. Pujari management, book distribution, preaching, like cooking, whatever. So he's like multi tasking, something like that. So he is fully equipped with all different kinds of service. He's a Krishna Das. He's multitasking, multifunctioned person, not just pujari or this and that, or best or worse.
One more question is, in regard, you was at the end talking about criticism, and I am very curious what really criticism is, because we can see nowadays in this movement there are different opinions, and they say like that criticism is not like like Prabhupada taught to say to a thief, he's a thief and so on.
Thief?
That it's not criticism when you say a thief is a thief.
Yeah.
If you point this out. So, but sometimes it's very difficult for me to understand at what point, at which point criticism starts. But when it's criticism or when it's only like maybe you can say something.
There are two types of criticism. Sometimes called destructive and constructive criticism. So you can criticize person even if you're in a position of management. So when you're in charge, when you try to take care of people, then you can criticize them because you're in authority, position of authority, and give them right direction in life. And also this constructive criticism can help people to grow, right? You can say something, oh, you rascal, you do the wrong things, you have to you're in a Maya, so you have to go out and just do books and like you're pushing people sometimes. That's constructive. Unless people accept you as authority and ready to follow you, then you can just uplift them by your criticism. You can uplift their consciousness. But when you put them down, when you just minimize them, let them down, smash them, and destroy them by your criticism, that's called destructive, and this is offense. This is very heavy things. It is aparat. It is Vaishnava aparat. So you can harm people, you can hurt them in subtle way. So they become frustrated and just hurt by, like Bhagavatam saying, our sharp words can hurt even more than sharp arrows. Something like that. So words can hurt you more than sharp arrows. Just by word you can harm people, you can injure. Yeah. So you have to be constructive, and even you see, but if unless you're in a position of authority, otherwise you shouldn't criticize at all. You shouldn't be critical towards anyone. So we, in opposite, in the contrary, we're giving respect to everyone. Even small ant, what to speak about people, what to speak about devotees. So we shouldn't even at all criticize them. Sometimes we can call things by the name. So this guy, he's this and that. But it's not criticism if you just
name the person who is actually is. Yeah. You shouldn't indulge in that, you know, like just go and just try to, you know, like yeah. But actually, better to avoid these things.
What?
Criticism.
Not to be what?
Avoid.
Not to avoid.
Avoid, yeah. Better to avoid. I mean, maybe I think if person, okay, so I know how to. You ask when is sometimes we name things by name, given some name. Yeah, thief is a thief. Yeah, it's obvious. But when is a criticism? You said, yeah. Whether it's criticism, or, yeah. What is it?
Which time it starts to criticize somebody?
So, what is the criteria? Yeah. So you have to wear some other shoes. You know this saying goes. You have to wear his own shoes. If you say to him something critical. So you have to estimate according to yourself. Are you feel okay with that? So it hurts you or not? So you have to judge by your own feeling, and then you can apply to others. And you see, that's your judgment. That's your criteria of criticism or not. So just try to understand what people feeling about that. That's it. That will be your estimation of criticism. Yeah, is it okay?
Yes.
Maybe Mataji can help us.
I just noticed that in our movement is very we're going very strictly with this topic of not criticize.
Yeah.
And as a result, the people they don't say anything they think, but they're swallowing, and then at the moment when they cannot anymore, they say everything. Yes, that's somehow wrong understanding of not criticizing, because they think I don't have to say anything. I have to keep it within me, and this creates a big problem actually. And so it doesn't allow them for the people to express their opinion in a right way. This is the problem. I don't know what do you think, or how we can solve it?
Reconcile it.
Because we have to.
Psychologically, it's not correct to keep it inside and criticize inside the mind and think in different way, but externally you're just silent. You just don't do anything in order that you are positive, or you're not critical, huh?
Sorry. You're talking.
Huh?
So you're talking.
Yeah, you're talking. No problem.
Just sometimes it's better to wait one day or some hours at least, not to immediately react on the emotion, but rather to wait even maybe 1 week and just to reflect.
Oh, first you think over.
You're right.
You just reflect. You think carefully, and then you just judge what's going on. Like not like what is called a reactive impulse, which is going immediately. That's called false ego. Immediately. If somebody said to us, we just immediately want to respond. Just hit him in response. So that's false ego. We have to stop ourselves, if we can. Of course, sometimes we cannot. And this is a problem. It's called reactive impulse. And when we able to stop ourselves, that's called intelligence. This is small gap between our impulse action towards us, and the next hour respond. So this is small gap, it's called intelligence. So when we stop ourselves, we try to think a little bit, we're able to think or not. So then we can do right decision. But it's another topic. So I mean, it's also good to discuss, but come back to Mataji's point. So how we can be more, what to say, psychologically rightly
Balance, maybe balance.
yeah.
Не в ущерб себе, ну то есть мы же тоже личности, мы тоже хотим проявлять себя, чтобы не ущемлять свои и других.
I wanted to say it's maybe also similar to this Mayavad philosophy that's
It's similar, I mean, it's Mayavada. It's in itself Mayavada, because when we just, like, we're happy with everything, we're satisfied with all things which are going on around. Doesn't matter what's going on. We just completely So we imitate either we imitate higher level, like of advancement. We're just advanced Mahabhagavata, who doesn't care, like he just completely with Krishna and he sees everything in a positive and blissful way, or otherwise we just in kind of emptiness, in kind of like we're in a Brahman position. That's Mayavada. So we try to make impressions that everything is okay, but it's not really. So we have to express our emotions sometimes, and but somehow or other we have to do this in a positive way, or we have to first think and then react, right? Although that it's another case to react when we touched by our false ego, a little bit hurt, then we react. That's dangerous because we can commit some offenses. But when we we can express our emotion. That's okay, because Bhakti is emotional sphere. When we hide or kill our emotion, that's called impersonalism or Mayavada. So when we express our emotions, that's okay, because it's Bhakti. We should not fast on our emotions. We have to open and just show that's our emotion. That's okay, so no problem. Although we have to be very careful and according to the etiquette, But if we express our emotion and not indulge on them and not just dwell on them, like what is called wrap up in those emotions, and we become affected by that. We can even express anger, we can express all these kinds of things, we can dovetail it in devotional service. And this is recommended by acharyas, right? It's okay. Yes, you help.
In Yudhishthira was overcome by emotion after the sons were dying from Draupadi. So I think it's inevitable that you have to act emotionally, as Prabhu was mentioning that too. But as I mentioned before, it's sometimes better to reflect and to wait at least a few days or hours and chant the holy name instead of immediately acting on the emotion, which is just then what is it called? I can't remember. Anyway, doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But then it's just emotion, it's not.
So emotions are good. We don't hide. We don't kill our emotions. So we have to follow. We should not follow.
It's not meant to be on a sentiment.
Sentiment. Yeah. Sentiments are not good. Sentimental, mental level. mental emotional level, yeah. But we can express our emotions because we're emotional living being. Even Lord himself is essential living being. So that's our platform of reciprocation. So we have to exchange with emotions. In the spiritual sphere, all emotions are there. Even what is called Bibhatsa rasa. Bibhatsa means disgust, or even horror, or fear, or anger are there as well on the spiritual platform. But those emotions, they're not affected by those who express them. But one can use them in service to Krishna, just to satisfy Krishna, you see. They're not affected by those kind of, like turmoils, all this anger, but we are affected. So we have to be careful because we just immediately got under the control of anger, fear, or pride, or whatever, or envy. You see, we become affected, we become contaminated by that. Then we get reactions, and also we can offend person. But Prabhupada used his anger, right? We know some stories. Yeah. So emotions are there, but we should not be affected by those. We shouldn't be got under the control of them. We can express our feeling, our vision, our understanding of the world, not hide those emotions. You got something to say?
The many devotees they talk about when they saw that Prabhupada was angry, he was really like nobody would say anything in the room and everything was quiet and so on. But at the same time, one second later, Prabhupada was completely disappointed. He was not like
he wasn't affected.
This inner crow. He was just like outwardly acting because it's helpful for the persons, but it doesn't.
But he was furious. He was really angry, not like we are a little bit. He was like completely furious, like enraged. But still, he wasn't affected. He just, because he was not under the control of this anger. He was a liberated person, in other words. He could use any emotions. You see. Otherwise, emotions gonna use us. That's a bad thing. Yeah, in conditioned stage, better do not use especially negative emotions. Otherwise, we become affected. We have to get purified out of them. But anyway, so we're sensual living beings. We have to express our emotions. Otherwise, we become impersonalists. Killing emotions is not our way to deal with the things. So we can express, no problem. I mean, maybe some, but you see, normally devotees, they conduct according to the etiquette. So, and those who deviated, they become like do some nonsense. We can say about this as well, but of course in a certain careful way, and we shouldn't be overreacted immediately, like respond. We have to think and then say. Sometimes use emotions. Why not? Very emotional people. Devotees are emotional, right? You agree?
Some more, some less.
I mean, Western people, they're not so much emotional. They're more pragmatical, like rational people, and even cold sometimes. But it's kind of features of the specific nature. Some past upbringing, maybe you're born in a certain atmosphere. Like I said, I heard that Indian people, they're sentimental and soft, but Western people, they're gross and rational. But Russian people in between, they're sentimental and gross.
Better to little known when there was a woman who's difficult. In the Bible it's mentioned living with a wife who is addicted to fighting. Like this.
Oh, really? Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Anyway. And we are not on the same level as Prabhu, but that's another thing. We might want to use anger, but then we are actually controlled by anger. And there's a whole lot of spectrum as well.
Yeah, we got trapped in this kind of thing. A nice way to express emotions is a kirtan. So you're going for kirtan or harinam. So you can express a lot of whole spectrum of emotions. And just, like, give them way out, whatever you just accumulated. Dance and sing and loudly sing and like maybe roaring. And you express your anger, everything in a kirtan. It would be nice, you see.
Chaitanya Prabhu is saying that devotees doesn't have actually problems. The only problem is not enough kirtan.
Yeah. You can dance, you can just, like...
Actually, yesterday I met an old man, and he's from the Hare Krishna movement also, but he was not there he was not here for 5 years.
Oh.
And he said that he lived for 20 years with his wife, and they were fighting every day. And he was almost every day on the balcony, and she was always fighting with him. And she was just so, whatever. She just mentioned that, and that somehow made me think. Is mentioned even that it's more important to have a good wife than the spiritual master, because you're going to spend the whole rest of your life with this person.
Maybe sometimes better to not have at all. I mean, your mind is your wife, already there, so you're gonna get second one. Huh? I mean, it's not for everyone. We're not fanatics. You can have a wife, no problem. Okay, let us say everyone something about the emotions, maybe.
About emotion, as you mentioned about the critics, it depends on us to listen how we respond to the question, and what this person wants to know from us. Because its critic can be build you up or to put you down.
Yeah.
You have, because we don't look in different kind of perspective.
Yeah.
If it's upbuilding, it's positive way. The question is, if this person is criticizing you, and then can he explain what does he mean? What is his suggestion? How we can deal in future?
Yeah. It's called positive and negative criticism. Yeah.
That's what I would say. Sometimes people criticize, they don't say anything, everything is bad, they don't give any further details about their statements. And that's the bad thing, and you can't change anything.
Okay, so what's the conclusion? So we have to come to the mode of goodness, and we have to be emotional but not affected by those emotions. We can use them but not affected by, like in the lowest modes of nature. And we can be positively emotional people, express our emotions, but in a positive way. Maybe sometimes negative emotion, but in a positive way. We can bring people, we can uplift them, we can give direction or express our attitude, but in sattva gun, better to be. Otherwise we become entangled, complicated, trapped by those emotions. So in sattva gun, better to use emotions. We can use, but carefully. It's like deal with fire. So you can take you can what is called warm up by fire, but you can get burned. So you just use it, but carefully. And this is called sattva guna, because in sattva guna everything is balanced. So you can use all other emotions, because Krishna gave to us emotions. How we can? You see, we've got this Shakti, we've got this kind of extra energy to use. So why we have to keep it and just neglect? So we use them and we make our life like kind of full and complete and whole, but in very balanced way, so that we will not be affected by it. And when we liberate it, when we fully liberate, we can use any emotions and no problem. Any emotions. Because you're a liberated person, you're on the platform of Brahma Bhuta, so you can use whatever energies Krishna are there. So I think conclusion of that, we can use all of them, but in a balanced way, in a very regulated way. Carefully. Yeah. And another extreme that we just keep them inside and just become inwardly affected, and then we got some different kind of disease and things and psychological problems. Yeah, that's also bad. So balance them. So two different extremes. Just fall into emotional and sentimental ditch, or just keep them inside themselves and just also become affected inside and just, got crazy finally. Something like that. So maybe I think more, but that's what I can say now. But it's very kind of important things to understand about emotional life. Are you agree? It's okay, we can stop here.
Can I have a question?
Yeah.
I'm wondering how, when you have like really deep emotional issues, how to overcome them?
Deep emotional issues?
Yeah.
What's the example?
Past.
Past. You mean you've been...
To be more...
To be what?
To live in a more... emotional variety where you are more connected to your emotions. How to do that?
How to do what? You got two questions, yeah? How to purify yourself from the past kind of negative emotions which we've been affected by, and now we're just a little bit what is called not really unfulfilled due to this.
Come to the state where you're completely emotionally fulfilled.
Free, fulfilled, and can express your emotional. You see, we're not going to psychological experts. We're not going to the doctor to sort out our emotional problems or issues or depression. So we chant Hare Krishna. We chant Hare Krishna, and this is our belief. When we chant in Hare Krishna, we can dissolve all our problems in our consciousness, all our black kind of dark side of our nature. That's called anartha nivriti process. It's called anartha nivriti, purification. And that's our belief, that if we believe that only Hare Krishna can help us, you see. That depends on our intensity and attentiveness and dedication to holy name. But holy name, only holy name can help you. Nothing else, you see. Of course, we can use different other tools which can help us to come to the chanting, proper chanting, or attentive chanting. Like for example, you can use your intelligence to understand the mechanism of working of your kind of different psychological triggers, how they work. You can use it, but all of them, they're secondary. And this is our Shraddha, this is our belief, that we believe that only Krishna consciousness can help us to resolve all our problems. Shraddhe, Shabde, Vishvasa Kahe, Suhrida Nishaya. Karma, what is called? Krishna Prema, Hoila, Karma, Sarva Karma Krita Haya. So, if we strongly situated on a platform of Shastric knowledge, we can understand. So only Holy Name, only pure Bhakti can help us. And there are many verses as well, like for example, Padma Purana says, all different karmas can be dissolved by a mature Bhakti. Aprarabdha palam papa kutam bijam palom mukha kraminaya pralete Vishnu Bhakti Ratatmana. So different karmas. Prarabdha, aprarabdha, kuta bija, palamukha. So all our emotional issues, that's what is called. That's called prarabdha karma. So we accumulated it due to our past sinful activities. So how we can resolve it? Vishnu Bhakti Ratatmana. Vishnu Bhakti Ratatmana means mature, advanced Bhakti. So Bhakti can help you, not karma, not jnana. So when we go into to a psychologist, psychotherapist, that's called jnana, and not really powerful jnana, because it's Kali Yuga jnana. So when we go into, I don't know what, to do some physical exercise or some different breathing exercises, that's called yoga or karma. You know, we try to use some medicine. Doesn't work, Prabhu. I mean, you can put burden from one shoulder to another shoulder, to another part of or limb of the body. You can just, you know, like, an effect would be like, I feel relief, little relief, but it's just effect for a while. Then you become again overburdened with this thing, and only mature bhakti can help us. So that's why I'm again saying Hare Krishna. We just chanting Hare Krishna. But we have to surrender to the holy name. We have to really dedicate it and attentively chant in holy name, not just like, okay, some, you know, like shnik shnik nyam nyam. Not like that.
To experience emotions in this process, and then these high emotions
Yeah.
can overcome, like this.
Yeah. You see, this is also good advice. Emotional chanting. When we're chanting with emotions, that means like you pouring milk into the cup with a black ink. So all these black inks come out due to, you know, like, due to this emotional chanting, which is purifying us. Yes, there is no hope. We have to just cry for Krishna. We have to just appeal to him. Krishna, Govinda! So we have to just surrender. Then we will be purified. And yeah, that's what Shastra is saying.
Does it make a huge difference if you are chanting in the association of devotees or if you're chanting alone? Because often I more prefer to chant alone, and then I also heard devotees who prefer to chant alone.
If you're on the preliminary stage and we're just affected by drowsiness and sleepiness and all the things, we have to stay in an association. But if you created some kind of deep, what is called, maybe you've got your own kind of approach to chanting. When you're more concentrated, you want to express your emotions, but not in a public. You have to sit somewhere. Of course, you have to take some isolated place and just chant nicely and just, you know, dive into holy name. and maybe cry, maybe, you know, like express your emotions. And if you sit in temple room among the devotees, maybe you just, you know, like it's not really. Yeah, maybe if you're on advanced stage, you can go and chant in an isolated way. But of course, you have to participate in congregational chanting anyway. So that's not our method to go and sit in a cave chanting there.
Okay.
Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he used to chant alone in his small room. If you go to Mayapur, there is a Godrum Dvip, and his house, which is called Svananda Sukhanda Kunj. And he got special small room. I was sitting there also, trying to chant. It's like 1 meter for 1.5 meters. And it's very dark, there is no light. Just sit and chant. So he was like, and also Rupa Goswami, Sananda, they used to chant in the caves, you know, they just climb down in a cave, just deeply underground. They were sitting there. Although that time there was not any rickshaws or signals, you know, all this kind of distracting sounds outside. It was a forest, but still they were, you know, sitting like in very silent atmosphere. They want to catch each and every syllable of holy name and listen carefully and very, you know, attentively. Because it's very important to catch Krishna inside the sound, because Krishna is the sound of that holy name. So you have to be very concentrated, you know, like very focused. That's why maybe you need some, you know, like seclusion. If you advance, but if not, if you just fall asleep, so maybe you have to sit among the devotees. So we are now a stage, maybe have to stick to the assembly of the devotees. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Iskon Köln Yatra ki jai, Jai Shri Jai Gauranga Dhyamita ki jai, Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. I think everyone got experience when you chant nicely and, you know, like powerful kirtan, so you feel relief after kirtan.